Are you all set? We all ready? Okay. We're good? So this evening, as I said, we're pleased to be joined by Dr. Nadine Bonda, the Plan Manager from the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Dr. Bonda will be updating us on the quarterly progress report of our Accelerated Improvement Plan. Welcome, Dr. Bonda. It's nice to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to see everyone. I thought everyone was here to hear the quarterly report.
I know.
Oh, well. Usually I'm here much more often than this. As you know, I'm usually here 4 times a year. I haven't come for a bit of time because there hasn't been an accepted accelerated improvement plan in the district until just recently. For those of you who aren't familiar with the accelerated improvement plan, let me just take a minute to describe that. I know we have some new members of the board, the committee, and certainly new people watching. Level 4 districts every year have to write what's called an accelerated improvement plan. They identify 3 to 4 objectives that will drive their work in the district. And their primary effort is to work on those 3 or 4 objectives that the district recognizes are the most important ways for them to move student achievement. So although the district had submitted a few iterations of the Accelerated Improvement Plan for this year, in fact started last summer, there was not one that was accepted until just recently. So this report will cover the first 6 months of the school district's work without an approved plan, and under the direction of Interim Superintendent Nebrikov. So during this time, as I said, there were several drafts that were submitted, and since there was not an accepted draft, this report is going to look at the 3 areas, the 3 objectives that were addressed in last year's plan and proposed in some of the accelerated improvement submissions for this year. During this time, I, as monitor, came out monthly and met with the superintendent and the interim superintendent and the assistant superintendent and discussed what was occurring in the district in terms of the efforts to move along student achievement. So the first 6 months of this year continued to be a period of reorganization for the school district. There were several new people who were hired in key positions. As the school district worked through the flux that it's now experiencing, it has continued to work in the areas of curriculum and instruction, using data to inform instruction and systems, and providing professional development at all levels. So those were the 3 areas that we continued to look at. There were 3 consulting companies working with the district and supporting this work this year: Focus on Results, Achievement Network, and Mileposts. There was also a new plan manager team that was put into place within the last month or so. 2 members of that team are here: Sally Dias, where's Sally? You moved? And Ann Lane. There's a 3rd member, Pat Jackman, who's not here this evening. With their help, the new Accelerated Improvement Plan has been accepted for the rest of this year. There's still more work that needs to be done for it to be accepted for September, but there is a skeleton to work with for next year. So I'd like to give you a summary of the district activities in those 3 areas. The first is in curriculum and instruction, which is progressing, but there's still much work to be done in the district in order for the district to have a uniform curriculum throughout the district. At the middle school, Achievement Network, or as it's called, ANET, has been working with teachers to align the curriculum with the Massachusetts Common Core standards. And this is primarily done in mathematics and English language arts at the middle school level. At the elementary level, some of the curriculum is aligned, but work will need to be continued to be done on this level. At the high school, curriculum is not yet aligned with the Common Core curriculum. As a side note, Massachusetts districts were expected to align their curriculum to the 2011 Massachusetts state standards by the beginning of 2013-2014 school year. The new supervisor of instruction / director of technology has been working with the high school math department on beginning the alignment on the Algebra 1 and the geometry courses. The supervisor of instruction, director of technology, has expressed his concern that there's not enough capacity in the district to complete this work in a timely manner. That's important for the school committee to know in terms of their allocation of budget resources for next year. Much work remains to be done in the area of curriculum alignment. The second area is data-driven culture. I'm happy to report that data is being collected in several areas. However, the district is just deciding on the extent of data to be collected and how that data will be used to inform decision-making at all levels. So, for example, data is being collected, some data that's being collected is attendance data and suspension data at all levels, and it's being compared to last year's data. Although the Positive Behavior Intervention and Support Program, which is called PBIS, has been introduced to each building, there's yet to be a monthly dashboard built to allow collection and analysis of all aspects of behavior in each school in the district as a whole. And this is an area that we hope that the superintendent will lead. DIBELS data is being collected, but again, it's not clear how this data is being used to drive change and student improvement in the district. And this is another area that we're hoping the superintendent will lead. Milepost has been hired to bring all of the district data together in one district dashboard so that all teachers and administrators can access it. However, this system is not yet operational. Achievement Network, or ANET, provides benchmark testing in grades 2 to 8. ANET analyzes the data, helps the schools to align curriculum, and works with teachers to help them understand how to incorporate results of that analysis in their teaching. This is an extremely important initiative in the district. The district is relying on outside organizations for this work, and we're hoping that at some point the district can assume responsibility for this work itself. Walkthroughs and learning walks are being done to assess teaching in all classrooms. Some learning walks include teachers as well as administrators. And feedback is being given to teachers on 4 levels. The first is rigorous standards-based planning with written objectives and classroom activities that support them and reflect evidence. The second area of feedback is in terms of student engagement. The third area of feedback is in terms of multiple questioning strategies. And the fourth area of feedback is in terms of adjustments to practice using a variety of instructional strategies that ensure students are learning. The district has not yet assessed how the feedback is affecting student learning, and that will be a next step for the district. The third area is high-quality professional development. Professional development this year was taken over by district leaders, so in the past there was a professional development committee, but this year it's been taken over by district leaders to better respond to what they see as professional development needs in the district. Focus on Results is working in the district approximately 1.5 days per month. A group of teachers is participating in Research for Better Teaching training. The pupil personnel supervisor is providing training to staff at each building on how to work more effectively with special needs population. And the mentoring program is in the process of being redesigned to provide more intensive support for new teachers. So in summary, although there are certainly positive steps the Southbridge School District is taking to reorganize the district, to put effective leaders and teachers in place, to provide professional development to improve the skills of administrators and teachers, and to collect data to help inform them of the direction that they need to take, the district remains at the beginning of this work. Hiring high-quality, effective leaders who work collaboratively, who have successful turnaround experience, and who are committed to driving change is important work that will need to be done this spring. An acceptable and strong accelerated improvement plan that drives the work of the district will need to be the roadmap for the district. Once the accelerated improvement plan is accepted for next year, the superintendent will need to work diligently to ensure that everyone in the district understands the hard work that needs to be done and the urgency with which it needs to happen. The top central office administrators need to be visible every day in schools in order to drive the improvement in the district. So some next steps. Implement the accelerated improvement plan that will drive the work of the district. Further develop an accelerated improvement plan that will be accepted for next year. Develop a recruiting plan for teachers and administrators that casts a wide net to attract the most qualified people possible. This includes the next superintendent of schools. In terms of the next superintendent, I want you to know that there's now support in the district from 3 plan managers that will help the new superintendent. There's support from the DSAC, and there'll be coaching for the new superintendent from the new superintendent's project that's done as a joint effort between Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents and the Department of Education. So there will be support and coaching in terms of coaching and mentoring for the new superintendent. The district needs to complete curriculum alignment and development at all levels. The district needs to put in place a plan to effectively use the data that's being collected. The district needs to put in place a plan to provide professional development to every teacher in the district to raise their capacity in order to drive increased student achievement. The district needs to use the educator evaluation process and policy to give effective feedback and to help all personnel in the district grow, as well as to hold all personnel accountable for increasing student achievement. Because the issue of capacity in the district to effect the change that needs to be made has been raised by the superintendent, the director of teaching and learning, and the supervisor of instruction, a district plan should be developed that maximizes the use of the time of these people and all other administrators in the district. This quarter, because the district has not been operating with an improved accelerated improvement plan since September, ratings for the initiatives are not provided as they are usually provided. Any
Thank
questions?
you. Appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Bonda? Mrs. Congdon?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Dr. Bonda. What is the plan monitor do? What's like the job description of the plan monitor?
So I work for the Department of Education. I come to the district monthly and we discuss and they present evidence to me of what they have been doing in order to meet the goals of their accelerated improvement plan. So the idea is that what gets monitored gets done. And as I said earlier, the district is responsible for developing its own accelerated improvement plan because it's the district that knows what has to be done in order to provide student achievement. The monitor is the person who tracks that, the work that's done, and tracks, the district sets up benchmarks, and I ask for data to see if the district is meeting their own benchmarks.
Now, how many years have you been with us as plan monitor?
This is my third year.
Third year. And just looking at this, just a correction, I don't think we hired a new principal at Eastford Road School. I saw that in the introduction of the report, it said a new principal was hired at Eastford Road School, but I don't think that's correct. I think we have an interim principal there.
And that maybe I was under the impression that, from what I was told, that there was a new principal who was hired. But when these reports are written, and I do write the reports, they're then sent to the district for corrections. So both the superintendent and assistant superintendent have the opportunity to see the report and to make any factual corrections. So that apparently wasn't caught at that point. Okay. But I apologize for that.
That's okay. And I don't think we have an assistant superintendent either. That was just, we don't,
Director
I've never,
Director.
we've never had that. So that was another concern that I had regarding these issues. And you do come once a month, right?
I'm sorry?
You come once a month?
I come once a month, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It's the Director of Instruction.
Teaching and learning.
Is that,
Teaching and learning.
Ms. Gardner, is that your title?
Director of Teaching and Learning.
Director of Teaching and Learning. I'm sorry.
And just another question. So when you come once a month, do you help correct or do you just listen? Do you help implement like maybe SMART goals for the school district, or do you help guide them? Give them ideas?
I give them ideas. I ask questions. And we do work together to set some goals for the kinds of data that will be reported during the next month.
Just another recommendation that I was just, when I'm looking in the plan, we talked about ANET, and I don't know, recommendation to the state or even to the acting superintendent. I just think that we need to start informing parents how well their children do on these ANET tests. It's come to my attention that a lot of parents aren't aware of what their students are getting on the ANET, so I think that's another part of the data-driven culture that we need to kind of work on. To make things clearer. But thank you very much for your time. That's all my questions.
Thank you.
I could comment a little bit on what ANET is used for. So ANET is a diagnostic test that is used by the district in order to inform teachers about where they have to reteach areas. So it's a diagnostic test basically for teacher use.
So the parents shouldn't be aware?
Oh, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be aware, but that's something that you should discuss with your acting superintendent or interim superintendent, surely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions this side? Good. This side, any questions? Mrs. Donovan?
Thank you. Nice to see you, Dr. Bonda. Thank you,
see
Madam
you.
Chair, through you. One thing I wanted to just be enlightened with, because it's the first time I've heard about this, when you were talking about the PBIS system and the last line of the paragraph that you referred to, you mentioned that there has yet to be a monthly dashboard built to allow collection and analysis of all aspects of behavior in each school and in the district of a whole. I'm not sure what the definition of a dashboard is and what is it supposed to look like.
So most superintendents will put in place what they call a dashboard, and it's a method of displaying data that's collected in all areas. Each principal will be assigned certain data to look at during the month, and that will all be pulled together in one large chart. Okay. So when the district team, including principals and central office administrators, meet, they generally look at that dashboard. They can see where schools are progressing, where schools need more work. In this case, I talked about suspensions and attendance. They can keep track of attendance data. They can look at what's happening at each school. They can look at suspension data. They can look at dropout data. They can look at ANET testing. So it's a collection of, they might have information there from the monthly walkthroughs that they're doing. So it's a way to display all of the data that's being collected in the district so that it can be discussed and used effectively.
And what you're looking for in this particular one, is it strictly pertaining to PBIS, or are you looking for every little piece of what we collect for data?
That was just one example. The
Okay.
PBIS would be one part
Okay.
of what's collected.
Okay, thank you. The other question I have, and maybe other people on the district leadership team and Ms. Gardner know the answer to this question, but, and a lot of this, I know, none of this is shocking or new to me, but what I get confused about is the approval and the acceptance of the Accelerated Improvement Plan. We know that, we'll say within the last month, a new one has been accepted. And by listening to you, I get the impression that that new Accelerated Improvement Plan is only valid, so to speak, until the end of this school year, which is basically 8 weeks away. And then, so therefore, we should have another AIP ready to roll for the following school year. So I just don't understand, like, how or when would a new AIP be submitted and approved so that we're ready to roll, say, in August, and what happens during these last 8 weeks. And I'm not sure, does the AIP that was recently accepted, does it only cover an 8-week window, or what is the time frame for our existing AIP to know when the next one should be submitted?
So generally, there are 3 submission dates that a district can choose from. So usually there's a June submission date, July submission date, and August submission date. So the district can decide which of those dates they want to choose to submit their Accelerated Improvement Plan. The idea is then it's ready to roll for September. The Southbridge plan was not accepted last summer when it was submitted. There were guidelines. There's always a letter that comes out to the district if the plan hasn't been accepted with suggestions of how to improve it. And resubmission. When the Southbridge School District submitted its last AIP, which was accepted about a month ago, it was accepted for the rest of the year and as a framework for next year's Accelerated Improvement Plan. There were a few areas that were asked to be strengthened. So once those areas are strengthened, then that plan will be accepted. So it's not a rewriting of the entire plan, but it is a closer look at some of the areas. And again, that information was provided to the district.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bonner.
Ms. Gardner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It was my understanding that we were writing an 18-month plan.
And if you take a close look at the letter, the plan was accepted for the rest of the school year, but there were some additional things that needed to be done for next year. So yes, the framework of the plan is accepted, but it needs a little bit more work in a few areas.
Okay, because we had offered some of those additions as well recently.
I haven't seen them yet, but they may have gone to the Department of Education.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Mrs. Quinney?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Dr. Bonda. Thank you for coming. I had another question. I think Mrs. Congdon asked the role of the monitor. Can you explain the role of the plan manager
Yes.
for the community?
Yes. So the Department of Education, in order to support the work that's going on in the district, provides a plan manager for each Level 4 district. That plan manager initially, in year 1, would probably write the Accelerated Improvement Plan for the district with some input from the district, and then help the district to carry that out. As the years go on, the idea is that the plan manager will train and turn over more of that work to the district. So basically teach the district how to write an Accelerated Improvement Plan, what makes good benchmarks in an Accelerated Improvement Plan, what makes good strategic initiatives, et cetera, so that the school district can take that work over eventually. At the beginning stages, the plan manager helps the district to organize the work of the improvement plan. And again, as the years go on, turn over more of that work to the district. So presently, there are 3 people who are helping do the work of the plan manager: Pat Jackman, who is working mostly at the high school, Sally Deas, who is working throughout the district, and Ann Lane, who is helping to coordinate all of the work.
Thank you. So you've been with us for 3 years. Is that when the AIP process started in our district?
Yes.
And how many plan managers have we had?
This is the 3rd.
So at least one group per year.
Yes.
And that first year, was our AIP accepted
Yes, it was.
in the initial year?
In the initial year, you had an AIP, that's right.
From-
You've had an accelerated improvement plan for the last 2 years.
And I know last year it was accepted late. And that first year, was it again accepted late?
I can't recall. I don't think you had one starting in September, but I'm not sure when it was accepted the first year.
My recollection, which clearly could be wrong, was that first year we didn't quite get on the stick to get one done.
You did have one done, and I reported each quarter on it. I remember distinctly the first time that I reported there was an AIP in place, but there hadn't been much work
No
that had done on
data,
it.
that's what it was.
I'm sorry?
You had said we had one, but then there was no data to report on, is that
That's right.
what it was?
That's right.
Thank you. Going back to the process, you've said multiple times that it's the responsibility of the district to write their AIP because they know what's going on in the district.
That's right.
Where I get confused is if we have these people that are working within the district who know what's going on in the district and can identify the needs of the district, write a plan based on that, and then send it to the state in August, and now it's April. What went wrong in that process?
So there are a series of letters that were written by the Department of Education that have come to the superintendent, and you can certainly ask for those to see exactly what the feedback was. In most cases, either the benchmarks were not rigorous enough, or the actions that were laid out to be taken were not considered to be robust enough to accomplish the 3 strategic objectives that the district wanted to accomplish. So it wasn't the objectives themselves, it was how they were going to be carried out.
All right. So those letters have come in, and then the district leadership team then sits with the plan manager and then with you, and then so they give you the data that they've collected towards those 3 key areas and works with the manager to improve the plan and then take into consideration these letters from the state. How many letters have we received?
I'm not sure. Ms. Gardner, do you know? There are probably 3 or 4 letters that were received.
So I guess my question is, for that period of time, the district is supposed to have been taught how to kind of do this a little bit better and make the process easier. We've had a manager in place, and 4 iterations we've gone through before we've gotten to the place where we have a mutually acceptable plan to work from, and we've had kids sitting in classrooms for this period of time.
So there was a plan manager in place, which the district is responsible for choosing their plan manager, and in the fall, the district decided to change plan managers. And it then took a bit of time for new plan manager to come on board who was acceptable to the superintendent.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about the issue of capacity, which you've spoken about several times in your report, most pointedly in the next steps regarding, because
quoting, because the issue of capacity in the district to affect the change that needs to be made has been raised by the superintendent, the director of teaching and learning, and the supervisor of instruction / director of technology, a district plan would be developed that maximizes the use of these 3 people and all other administrators in the district. I find that a challenging step for the state to give the district as a district, given that I feel like this process of writing a plan takes those people away from building capacity within the district in order to support initiatives that are going on. I feel like the process, they're working for a process that just kind of seems to be a spinning wheel, and I haven't seen how this directly impacts kids in a classroom. I see a lot of plans, a lot of people coming in and out of the district, and a lot of work being put forward by people who do know the district well to then have to continue to go through a process and a cycle. And like I said, if this plan was submitted in August and we've had support for 3 years of a manager who has the capacity and the ability to help us write a plan, I think we're doing our district no service and the students in our district no service by continuing with a process that doesn't seem to have an endpoint that's going to impact kids for the long run. If this plan that has finally been accepted has only 8 weeks and then a framework to take us to the next however long, how many more iterations is it going to take with the support of the state? I feel like we're not truly, haven't been supported through this process in order to do what we need to do to impact the education of the students in our district. And I think this process, the way that it's played out in this district, has done nothing to build capacity and has kind of taken away that capacity.
I understand your frustration. When the superintendent decided to change plan managers, there was quite a bit of time when there was not a plan manager in the district to support the work of the district. When this team came on, probably a month and a half ago, I would say within a couple of weeks, there was a plan that was submitted and then accepted. So it was a matter of getting, I think, the right team of plan managers on board to support the work. And this work, the work is intended to drive, the plan is intended to drive the work of the district. Mm-hmm. And the plan manager's role is to support them getting that work done. So it's to support their ability to do that work. And then the plan monitor comes in and asks for data and collects data and gives that information back to the superintendent and back to the school committee. So I'm a mirror for the work that's being done here, basically.
Right. And thank you. I'll just stop there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I just have one question and a comment. I too wanted to speak to the issue of capacity, if I may, for a minute, where it says the supervisor of instruction, director of technology has expressed his concern. There's not enough capacity in the district to complete this work in a timely manner. Do you know if that's in regard to people, programs, what kind of resources they're thinking we're deficient in as we are working on our budget?
So he was specifically talking there about the capacity to develop the curriculum that's needed in the district, both in terms of personnel who have expertise in that area and the number of people available to do it.
Okay. Thank you for that.
You're
I think
welcome.
we are, I don't know if Ms. Gardner wants to make a comment, we're kind of at a disadvantage where Buzz had done a lot of this heavy lifting and isn't here to provide some of these answers for us, so hopefully the superintendent, when he returns, will be able to fill in some of those blanks. You want to go ahead?
Well, if I might, thank you, Madam Chair. I believe one of Superintendent Nemikov's part of the plan to rewrite the improvement plan was that after the plan that had been in place last year, our MCAS took a sharp decline last year. And I think in revamping and with so many people, he did not feel that the plan that had been written reflected, I think, the new day in spring, in Southbridge, as he calls it. And I think we did work diligently on it, and there was a lot of frustration around it. But I do agree with you that in the last couple of months, especially with when Ann Lane came on board, we made great progress in it. And having Dr. Dias and having Pat Jackman has been excellent resources for us. And, you know, I didn't know if Ann, I don't want to put her on the spot if she wanted to add anything, but, you know, we really feel like that we've now created a plan that does reflect what we do. And I do think that in the past, and I'm not trying to throw blame on anybody, but I think, you know, you always hate throwing anybody under the bus, but I don't think that in the previous plan, some of the data and some of the progress that had been stated within the district had really been made. And so we've taken a lot of this year to sort of survey exactly where we are, and I believe that moving forward, we're in a great place to do that. But I do appreciate the help, and I can honestly say that, you know, the day Ann Lane arrived, that was really when we felt like we were on board to making a plan that would be accepted.
And I'm glad to hear that, because the team that you have has a great deal of experience and expertise in this area, and hopefully they can be a great help to the district.
And two of those members are here. I don't know if you would like to speak, or could you go to the mic? I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
So I'd make two quick comments. One to Ms. Quinley. So I have been involved supporting all the plan managers across the state for the last 3 years, and so was somewhat involved in Southbridge a few years ago. So you had a good plan in place, and to Pat's comment, unfortunately, a lot of level fours, Randolph, which is where I work a lot, also had what I think was a great plan, but we did not see the results we wanted last year. I think we think of accelerated plan meaning immediately everybody's improved. So there's one thing about developing a plan that's solid, but there's another thing about implementing, and one of Southbridge's problems over the past few years, for multiple reasons, is there wasn't the strong enough support for the implementation, the effective implementation of the plan. So the plan's only one piece of the hard work. What I helped the district put together now is to take the work that they had done and just make it tighter and clearer and much more aligned to how it can support student learning immediately. So take all of the other things away, target this whole plan to being just focused on what is in place to support students and how we're going to measure it. So now the challenge is the implementation of that plan, which goes back to the capacity. Is that clear? So the plan we put together, what was what was missing in the last plan that they struggled to put together wasn't that they hadn't identified the right work. It just wasn't detailed enough and concrete enough to say how are you going to make it happen. So you wish to improve instructional practices. What does it really take this week, next week, the following month, and how will we know? So that level of detail was what was missing. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments? Mr. Olivo?
I guess I just have one question, and I'm new, so I'm trying to understand. Adding to what Ms. Quinney was saying, I guess the plan was submitted in August and accepted in March. And per your comments, it was tidied up and accepted in March. Who determines the deadline for when it's resubmitted so that we don't have to wait that time?
Good point for
to March?
clarification. So technically, Pat was right. We were given the charge to write a plan that would last through June 2015. The challenge was that they wanted to get this plan approved for this year, ASAP. So when the notes came back from the department, there were a couple of things we corrected when they wanted more explanation about for this year, and then they had a list of more deeper couple of questions for the following year. But they wanted to approve it, so they said, just do these two changes and we can approve it for now. So it's minimal tweaking to the plan that will last through next year. And we don't have a set deadline. Our goal, I think, is to do it in July.
I think you were asking a little bit of a different question, too. I may have misinterpreted, but I think your question was, if it was originally submitted last September, could they have submitted iterations of it all along, or did they have to wait to a certain point?
Well, no, it was kind of both, and she did answer the question. It's just, it was submitted in August and accepted in March. And I guess the back and forth, I mean, we were operating without a plan from that time to March.
So you were operating basically using the 3 strategic initiatives that were developed last year, but there wasn't a tight plan to support those. So there was a broad focus, but the details weren't there. When the department would give feedback, then as soon as the district was ready to resubmit, the district would accept it. They didn't have to wait until a certain time. So the district would accept it, review it, and then either accept or give feedback to it.
So starting this earlier would have the turnaround time so that I guess better for next year and have it ready for the start of the school year. Is that
Absolutely.
what I'm understanding?
And the framework has been accepted. So what is in place now will also be in place next year with some tightening in a couple of areas. So the plan does not have to be rewritten. There just has to be some things added in a few areas.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sally, Ms. Diaz, do you want to say anything?
I just thought I'd add a little bit about where we're going with this, and that actually tomorrow morning, we're meeting with Dr. Bonda, Ms. Gardner, myself, Mr. Jackman, to go over the AIP and present information and data that's been collected that supports much of what's in the plan that affected the last couple of months. And I have to say, I've been pretty impressed with the extensiveness of the information and data coming from the schools and the quality. That doesn't mean that there isn't a distance to go, but there really is quite a bit of evidence that the district is moving along.
Thank you. Rosa? Oh, Ms. Rosa has a question for you.
Hi. So I really don't know much about this plan or how this plan works or what's been going on around this plan and how it affects us. But I do know about the MCAS scores, and I do know about the student life in the school and so on. So someone brought up something about the MCAS scores and about the plan and about how it went low and so on. But from my point of view, not knowing about this plan, I just feel like the MCAS scores, you have to consider everything else that was going around in the school. Myself, I get affected by what goes on around me. I feel like everyone gets affected by what goes on around them. So at this point, we had the change in the math curriculum, we had the change in the teachers, we had the change in the school, we had all these changes. I myself ended up having a horrible year in the past time as well. So I must say my scores went down, my grades went down, because of all the things that were affecting me, not just a plan. So it just throws me off that people are considering talking about this plan and how this plan affected and how things went down, how things went up, but they're not considering the things that were going around the students, around the teachers, around the people involved. Because sincerely, how I said I don't know about this plan, but this plan didn't affect me. What did affect me was the teachers, the changes, what was going on, what was coming in and out. So not that this plan is not important, it's just how, are you guys considering how this plan is affected by everything else that goes in the school? Because there's a lot of things that go on that affect that grade. There's a lot of things that go on that affect the student. And there's a lot of things that needs to be considered in this plan as well that affect the students and how that could correlate, how that works together. Because we can't blame everything on a plan, and we can't blame everything on a person. We must put everything together to point fingers at something or someone or what's going on.
That's an extremely good point and very well thought out point. Thank you. And there has been a lot of change in the district, and that was something that I mentioned in my report. And we're hoping that some of those things will stabilize a little bit as the plan is put together. But it's important that there's a focus in the district, and it's important that the leaders of the district and all of the teachers of the district and even all of the students of the district understand the 3 or 4 things that are most important to work for in the district. And those are the things that have been identified in this plan, where the district leaders feel that if these 3 areas are worked on and worked on well, if there's improvement in those 3 areas, that the whole school district will improve, including student scores, and that there won't be as much change or as much flux in the district. So that's an excellent point.
Just wanted to stable that because I personally was affected by all the changes, and I was just thrown off. I was listening to what everyone was saying. I was like, but wait, no one is considering everything else that happened. It's like the district is on the outside. This is how I picture it. I picture us, the students, then I picture school committee, then I picture district. I see people coming in and out of the school, but they come in once a week, once a month, once a year. They're not there with us every single day. They're not there with us every single period. They're not there with us every single minute that we're in school. So they might take out one point while I'm taking out everything else that comes in. And there's a lot of things that affect and so on. And I just feel like sometimes there's a little points that are missing. They take out a few things that aren't correct or take out things that are correct. And it's just something that we must consider, because a plan is a plan, but a plan cannot work if everything is not working together. You can make a plan B, plan A, plan C. We can make 20 million plans, but if not everyone is working, not everything is working around it to make this plan work, there's nothing at the end.
That's right, Rosa. And things can be working well at the high school and not working well at the preschool or vice versa. So it's important that data be collected from all sources in the district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Can I just...
Sure.
This will be my last comment on this. Thank you. That was very articulate and very well said. And several weeks ago now, we had Senator Moore who came and spoke to our students. And something that was very touching for me was the number of principals that, your class, for instance, has had. And, I wasn't here, but I apologize for that. I mean, it's very unsettling to go through. And I think that we have an opportunity now, which I'll talk about in a minute, to hire administrators who want to be here, and we have some who want to be here. I mean, Mr. Wallace isn't going anywhere. Mr. Kikase, Ms. Potter aren't going anywhere, and we're looking to do that. And in this plan, and you're right, you haven't heard about it, and we're going to roll it out, actually, as soon as, we're ready to do it, so you are going to hear about it, but we want that to stop. I mean, this is a place that I want to be. And I think, I was talking to somebody the other day, I think that, in a way, Southbridge has been waiting for the right person to come and fix it, but I think the right people are here now, and, so I hope you will stick with us in the future, because we're going to change it. But I think it's, those of you who have stuck with us that have made it possible to get here, so I thank you.
Let me just say one more thing that goes with that. I was talking with Mr. Wallace 3 weeks ago, a month ago or so. We had a little meeting with 4 seniors, Mr. Wallace, and we were talking about how you can succeed no matter where you are at. There's no reason why you cannot be successful. There's no reason why you can't do something. And yes, a lot of things did go on in the last 4 years. I am evidence of that. I was there for all 4 years, but especially in my class, we have stick together. We have worked together, and we come from Southbridge. I came from Southbridge, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade. And there's no reason to blame things on other people. I am going to a great college. Many of the students in my class are going to a great college, and we come from Southbridge. We're proud to come from Southbridge. We have the grades, we have the scholarships, we have everything else any other school has. And maybe we have been waiting for the right person, or maybe we already have the right person. But it all comes from hard work and everyone working themselves. So maybe things will change. I am leaving this year, so maybe I won't see the changes. But we all have to commit. We all have to commit. We all have to work. And each person is individual, so they choose if they want to be successful or if they don't. So that's just, thank you.
Thank you, Rosa.
I think you can end the meeting at that note.
She does me proud, and she's going to my alma mater. I just learned that tonight, so She's always made us proud. Rosa keeps it real, I like to say. Thank you, Rosa. Thank you, Dr. Bonda.
You're welcome.